Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another week of Relationship Mastery. And so I was just sharing with Barry my woes of last week between being really quite sick with the flu and then my dog getting sick. And somewhere in the midst of all of that, low moods and how they affect our relationships came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned so much about, we always talk about it in the show, and it always comes around to this, is awareness, self-awareness.
Yes.
Awareness of what triggers you, how you're feeling. Are you fully present to the relationship? Are you in a low mood, which affects how we see our partners, and vice versa? If our partner is in a low mood, do we give them the space to come out of that place rather than be reactive to them if they are actually not at their best? So I just thought it'd be really interesting to just share, both Barry and I, to share how we notice within ourselves how our low moods affect our relationships. And again, as I said, we've just been through these, we're still going through the devastation of the fires in Malibu. And I'm witnessing, obviously, a lot of my friends and neighbors who have been adversely affected. There's nobody in Malibu that hasn't been affected on some level or other, whether you've lost, your home, or your home is still standing, but you can't get to your home, and you've lost the contents of your home because it's all smoke damaged, or you've lost your business because there's nobody coming to Malibu right now. However it is affecting you, it's affecting you, and different people respond in different ways.
Yes.
And I notice when I'm in a low mood, I tend to go inside. I tend to be very insular. I withdraw. And I didn't know this until I started really, really paying attention. And obviously, with the work that we do, we evolve and we grow. But I didn't realize that I'm not that available when I'm in a low mood.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I tend to go inside. I tend to be very preoccupied in taking care of myself. That's my sort of MO of where I go to. And whereas, I've noticed certain people around me, they do the opposite. They become incredibly needy and incredibly dependent on those around them to help them through whatever they're going through. But either way, whatever extreme we're on, we can inadvertently push people away. When I withdraw, people might take that personally. They think that there's something wrong with them, that I'm pulling away from them. They don't know that that's just my coping mechanism. And I tend to, as I said, that's where I tend to, my default. And the same with people that are become very dependent and needy. They can also drive people away because their needs and their anxiety and their wants are so great that other people can't cope with it or manage it.
Yep.
So, wondering, Barry, what about you? What do you notice about yourself when you're in a low mood in relationship?
Just to echo what you said, the thing about low mood, and it's oftentimes triggered by something external that the other partner may not know about. So one of the things about awareness is, are we aware that the other person doesn't know what we're going through? So there's no communication. And for me, in my experiences in relationship, I know I did that where I would shut down and basically like close up like a rose in winter or something, like a flower that closes up when it's when it's cold or when it's dark at nighttime. The petals close up, and it's like I remember feeling that way. And the challenge with that, of course, is there's two-way street. There's no way in, there's no way out either. And so for me, in my experiences, I've had quite often not quite often, but when it happened, I shut myself off as well. I wouldn't necessarily be reaching out for help. In fact, no, being needy wasn't my MO. Like looking for help, trying to get help. I would sort of tough it out for myself, and I'd be it's not self-sufficient, it's the wrong word, but I would basically be centric, for want of a better term. And just and it wouldn't necessarily be taking care of myself, but it would be the direction of taking care of myself by just simply being on my own space and being closed down. The challenge was, because I wasn't very aware at those times when it happened, this is going quite a ways, thankfully not so much now, is I didn't let anybody know this. So my friends around me and my partner at the time would have no clue what was going on. And they just feel like I suddenly disappeared on them, even though I was there physically, energetically I disappeared. And so the challenge was that they felt either let down or uncertain what was going on or feeling judgmental. All these different things were coming up for them, which I wasn't helping with. Now, with my awareness and growth and learning I've been through in self-awareness, is that I explain what's going on enough to say, don't worry about me, and don't think it's nothing to do with you. It's me. I got to take care of myself. Then it's a little bit cleaner. It's still not like perfect because we're human. Stuff happens. So being perfectly fine and always gregarious and social and every the other things that people are, I am tend to be normally. When I turn it off, people notice. So I know now to say, I'm down for the count. I'm either sick or I need to take care of myself or something happened. If I'll reach out to you when I'm ready, sort of thing, so they know not to worry about me.
No, exactly. And it sounds like we're very similar, because I do remember that when I was married, I remember there would be this escalation of what's the word I can use? And I'll just use escalation of emotions. I'll put it that way. And it was my ex-husband would feel like he he took my, again, because I wasn't articulating it, I didn't really even understand what was going on. Well, I sort of did inside, but I wasn't sharing it. I wasn't talking about it. But he would see my withdrawing as doing something to him, and he would take it very personally. And so once he expressed that a few times, and I always connected it to, no, I'm in my own head right now. I'm whatever. We were, it helped clarify. I was able to connect the dots and go, oh, this only happens. This sort of him feeling neglected, that I wasn't as a present or affectionate. All of those things were when I was doing what I had grown up doing, which was going inside to take care of myself. And even though that is a very healthy thing to do, I think it's actually I think it's healthy to get support from other people, but I think it is very healthy when when we all know that we have all the resources within us, and getting quiet and taking care of ourselves is the way to come out of that low mood, because we all go through low moods, and as you said, there's some of them are circumstantial, some of them last longer than other times, and I'm calling it a low mood, not a depression. That is something very different. And we're not talking depression here, because that is something where I do think that taking some quiet time, nurturing yourself and everything is very helpful. But I also feel that if it's a deep depression, reaching out for help, whether it's talk therapy, whether it's being coached, whether it's medication short term to help get over the hump, those are all very different things. But just the cycle of moods that we all go through, it's just part of nature. But just noticing when you're going into that dip, know for sure that you will pop back out of it, because that's our natural resilience, always comes back. We always pop back up if it's not a severe depression, a chemical imbalance. Right. But to also to let your partner know, hey, this is where I'm at right now. I might seem less affectionate. I might seem less present, or I might be those things, not even seem those things. But you could just, it is me, not you. And if you can just give me the space for me to take care of myself, and I know I'll pop back out.
Yeah.
But it's the sharing of it. It's the talking of it. It's the articulating what's going on for you, so your partner doesn't take it personally.
It's also the seeing it as just part of being human, because that's the other part too, is that we have sometimes this belief that when we're in a relationship, we're going to be on point or on deck all the time and being able to function and participate and always fully there. And so sometimes I think we judge ourselves if we're not doing that perfectly. And so the temptation can be like not even allowing low moods into our space, sort of things. Like, no, I've got to be on for my partner. I've got to be on for my partner, which is the whole codependent thing, which we talked about many times in the show. And the reality is that when we feel a low mood, it's part of the spectrum of experience we have in relationship. And it's not about a partner, but as a human being in relationship, we experience these things ourselves, as you said. And so recognizing that if we go to the low mood, first of all, it's okay to have that. It's like, it's not a bad thing. It's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with you or the partner or the relationship. But recognizing that that's just an experience. So as you said, the conscious choice is to articulate to your partner, this is what's going on. So they at least know that you're not vacating, you're not leaving, you're not judging them, you're just in your own space, and that's okay. Because the biggest piece is, because when in relationship, we have consideration for our partner, and oftentimes we think that if our partner's not feeling okay, we need to do something about it, or we're somehow to blame for it, which neither one of those necessarily is true. So to be in a place where if you're in that place of low mood, being not depressed, but low functioning because you need to take care of yourself, you don't have the energy or whatever that is, and you just need time, just to communicate to your partner so they can be off the hook is a good thing as well.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that low mood thing. It can be grief, it can be sadness, it can, and the reason we're making a big differentiation between depression, which
Mm-hmm.
is a severe case of low mood, but that low mood can encompass lack of sleep, stress, worry, um, not feeling very well. I mean, all of these things can add to you being in a low mood. And the reason it even came up this week was I was sharing with Barry earlier that my dog got very, very ill. Won't go into the details, but the other night, and at 10 o'clock at night, my son and I had to drive him to a 24-hour clinic, veterinary clinic, and I could tell that my son was extremely tired, extremely stressed, worried about the dog. He loves the dog just as much. I love my dog too. Um, and because he's younger, obviously he doesn't have some of the experience and the wisdom I have around this subject of low moods. He was becoming very reactive
Yeah.
and like impatient. I mean, clearly, neither one of us got 1 ounce of sleep that night. We sat up on very hard metal chairs for hours on end. But I knew enough to not engage, to allow him to have his experience, allow him to have his feelings,
Mhm.
um, and to just know that this is just what he's going through right now. There's, as I said, lack of sleep, worry, concern for the dog, not being able to go to work the next day, feeling like he had to go to work the next day, but knowing that there's no way he was going to go to work the next day without 1 hour of sleep. So,
Right.
but I know the old me would have, and I'm talking years ago, but 15 years ago, I would have, 15, 20 years, I would have been much more reactive. I would have been trying to control his experience, trying to talk him down, trying to reacting. If he was snappy with me, I would have snapped back. I would have, and I could just see the absolute change in myself of knowing that the low mood was here for a reason, a very justified low mood, as I said. Um, and that knowing that also that he had everything within him to come out of it himself. I didn't have to talk him out of it. I didn't have to tell him it was wrong to be that way. I just let him be.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is also knowing that if I had said anything in that moment when we're in a low mood, we are more um, impatient, we're more irritable, we're more reactive, we're more quick to anger. So choosing the time to engage with your partner, if knowing if you're in the low mood or they're in the low mood, you can still address things. This is not
Mhm.
pushing anything under the carpet. This is just knowing that when somebody's in a low mood, they don't have all of their um, their best coping skills on hand. Put it that way,
Yeah.
and so just delay the reaction, delay the discussion until both parties rather are feeling a bit better.
Mhm. And that's the thing is one of the skills I've developed over the years through my own work and through my spiritual journey is being able to hold space.
Mhm.
And in relationship, that's a skill that everybody, I think, will benefit from if they can realize that. So I think maybe more for men than for women. In we're trying to fix things, we're always driven to like solutions oriented and get things done and get handled. So when our partner feels out of sorts, we think we've got to be the mechanic to fix the problem and make it okay, which usually isn't the problem, the sort of solution anyway. Because especially in my relationship history with the women I've been around, plus my clients, is knowing that the feeling they're going through has to work itself out, so to speak. It doesn't require interruption or any sort of other thing because it's almost like destroying it. And so for me, the thing of holding that space is that I can still serve my partner or my friend, if I'm working with a friend or whatever it is, in your case with your son, by being present and just know so that we're there for them without saying we have to tell them that. Because one of the challenges also is that when we start telling them things and saying things to them, they may not even hear it. We're in that low space or even want to hear it. And so, but just by presenting the energy of just being, I'm present here and I'm holding space and I'm there if you need it, if and when they choose, they can lean into that and receive it from it. But it's that sort of level of understanding that we don't have to do anything mechanically or say anything specifically to be able to make a difference.
Yeah, it's so true, and it was so, by my holding the space for him and allowing him to have his experience. Number one, we didn't get into any fights, which was great.
Yes, indeed.
I didn't want to be also driving in the car with him for another hour when nobody had slept for 24 hours. So that was not, that was not ideal either to have a heightened emotion. So, but I could also tell the next day there was so much love and so much appreciation and expression of love and gratitude and and it really it I think trust, taking your hands off the wheel, really trusting the process, trusting that you don't have to go in there and meddle. And it was interesting. You said that maybe it was more of the male thing to fix. And I was thinking, well, I can't talk as a male, as I'm not a male, I can't talk about that. But as a mother, we all can tend to be a bit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, my son is an adult son. Sometimes that, parent-child relationship still is, that parents feel they need to guide their children and teach them and tell them and what to think, what to do, how to behave, and things like that. And thank God, I had an excellent therapist that guided me when my son was 16 to say, he knows what you think. They know your values. Anything that gets repeated and repeated after that is nagging, and nagging pushes people away. So I learned that, that I don't do that. He's his own individual person. He doesn't need his mum telling him how to be and how to act and behave at 31. But also going back to, I wanted to talk a bit more about that. It's interesting because why I love having this conversation with you each week is we often bring up different perspectives, but it sounds a bit like in this situation, we both, our default setting of where we would go to in the past more when we were in a low mood was very, very similar. But I want to talk about the person that reacts in the opposite way, in that sort of the opposite way, in the sense of instead of they don't sort of become insular and take care of themselves and therefore maybe a little absent, but they become sort of like wailing and demanding and looking to everybody else to fix the situation, to fix them. They lose all sense of that they have the power within themselves.
Right.
It's a wonderful thing to be available when you're going through a low mood. We've talked about that we've both learned that we can articulate, hey, I'm in a low mood, I might need a bit of space, but I'm still available. I'm here, I'm present. I'm not abandoning you. I'm just need a bit more time to take care of myself right now.
Right.
Now, the other part, when it becomes so sort of outwardly needing and somebody's on a loop and they're crying, wailing, and it's this outward energy that they flood other people. They flood other people with their anxiety, their stress, their grief, their concern, with the expectation that the other person should be able to take it. not just fix the situation for them and be for them rather 24 hours a day, but that they should be able to be to tolerate that call it emotional vomiting. I mean,
Yeah.
repeatedly drowning the other person in their experience, and then feeling angry and hurt that the other person sets up a healthy boundary or says, I can't be available 24 hours a day to keep being on the receiving end of this. And
Right.
then they're hurt, they're disappointed, they're angry, their partner's not there for them, but they have no ability to self-reflect and say, "Oh, hang on a minute, you're not there for your partner. You have just flooded them with your wants and your needs and your demands. That
Hmm.
not a two-way street anymore. It's just become this torrent that this person is having to survive and keep their head above water as all this emotion is coming at them with, as I said, expectations and demands.
Right.
So yeah, let's hear what you've got to say about that.
Okay, then.
Just even I feel like I'm drowning.
Well, kind of what I said earlier, is the holding space ability when somebody is in upset, and I've had this happen more in my coaching than I've had in my personal relationships. But when my clients, and even with friends as well, when they're in that place of like needing that reaching out, the more able I'm able to stay centered and holding space, the better it's for them and for me. Because the first thing is I don't get enmeshed in the upset, which doesn't help anybody.
Mhm.
But the second thing is I'm also not ignoring them because holding space and being present with them, but to a point. Because the thing about it is, yes, if they're emotionally flooding, just trying to get attention and overwhelming and not stopping, I need to turn to a point where I realize I need to say, no, that's enough. Like stop them, basically to break them out of the cycle, because that spiral is downward fading. So there isn't any way of them changing. But initially, to be present for them and hold the space, so they, first of all, they may not on an instinctual level, but they're feeling safer and saying they might slowly just percolate up and then lift that mood they may be carrying that's low in the first place. So it's one of the ways they do it. The other part is, again, and probably it's because I have the expertise, the same as you do, as these facilitators and experts and coaches, is to see what's going on and simply just sort of like stick a stick in the spokes of the wheel so it stops spinning, sort of thing. Carefully, because you don't want to stop you don't want to go the head. I mean, I'm using a metaphor like throwing over the handlebars of the bicycle, but it's that idea of stopping the chaotic spinning that's going on if they do get out of center. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And unfortunately, I hope our audience didn't hear what I heard, but that the audio was going a little in and out
Oh,
uh,
oh,
when you were saying some of that. But hopefully, so I get the gist of what you're saying, and I
okay.
think there's a big difference when we're coaching our clients and when we're actually with somebody 24/7,
Yes.
and because we are in a container and much have our coaching hat on. There is not. I mean, I absolutely love my clients. I really do. I genuinely care about them and love them. I don't get sucked into whatever is going on because I have the ability to stand back and I can see their health and I know that they will get through it and I know and I trust as well. They have resilience and they will work it out for them. With obviously I'm there to reflect and help them get there, but I also really trust that my clients, unless somebody's in a very abusive situation, then it's different. You have to be more proactive in a situation like that. You can't. So it's different. I'm talking more about in a relationship where you're living with somebody 24/7, and
Hmm.
they have no awareness of how overwhelming they are. There's just no self-reflection whatsoever. I mean, as a friend, I can step back because I'm not living it 24/7, but I can see the effect it is having on their partner.
Right.
And it's I can see, and I wish for the person that was flooded and overwhelmed and anxious and everything that they could see that they have more power than they think they have.
Hmm.
100%. They have the power to self-soothe. They have the power to resolve many of the situations themselves, that it doesn't always have to sort of flood another person to the point where it's damaging the relationship. So, if you do tend to be somebody that reaches out more than goes inside, I really would suggest that you find a safe place outside of the relationship, whether it is with a friend. Don't wear out all of your friends. Make sure you that can, you can talk to if you need to express how you're feeling, that you don't just have it all go to your partner, and to get professional help to help you
Yes,
see that you really do have the power within you. Nobody else out there can take care of you as well as you can take care of yourself. Nobody's inside of you. Nobody knows exactly what you need as well as you know what you need. And the more that you know that, and go inside first before sort of wailing and crying for help on the outside, you will find, I mean, number one, it's just an incredible experience to have, to see your own resilience, to see your own strength, to see your own independence. It's just such a beautiful gift to give to yourself. And when you don't go in that direction, you're denying yourself um, your birthright. Really, it's something that's already within you, but you're not allowing it to you're not acknowledging it and allowing it to flourish and grow within you.
that's true. I mean, the thing is that I mean, that's why my focus issue has been about self-relationship along the way, because the reality, when we start learning how to be so self-aware and self-supportive, we become better partners when we go into dating relationships. So this sort of journey, ideally, if you're somebody is facing a low mood ahead of you, sort of thing, not right at this moment, you'll have enough faculty and skill to realize that you have all the resources you need, but also the ability to hold space for yourself. So you don't need to lean on somebody else for that, and don't need to come across as desperate or just needy, period. You can
Mhm.
be in much more whole, and so you can take the time out. Again, like we said at the beginning, like, it's like, I need to take time for myself. Nothing about you. Give me like a night, a day, whatever it needs to be, and I need to work on what's going on inside of me. And you want to hold space, that's great, but I don't need any input or therapy. Let me, work it out myself. And that's awareness and self-support systems that ideally we help everybody get, so they can be able to do that more functionally, more effectively.
Yeah, yeah, I love what you said. It really is. Until we really could learn to do that for ourselves, I mean, we're deluding ourselves to think that we're present for our partner. I mean, we're just, if we are constantly looking to be filled and fed and nurtured from without, it's
Mhm.
just a bottomless pit. And again, it's the one-way street. It's going in, it's going in. If you don't fill yourself up, you don't have anything to give to another human being. Not really being whole, solid, present, aware, um, and in a healthy way. So yeah, it's a good lesson for us all to learn, to be very, very aware of our own cycles of our mood. And as I said, just remember, we may be in a low mood right now, but our natural state is to bounce back up. That's just, we always pop back up. It's like a cork. It's like you hold it underwater, but it bounces back up. It
Very
will
true.
go up again. It
Yeah,
will float again. So
very true.
thank you everyone for another wonderful week. We'll see you next week for another great chat.
And, and give us an update next week about the dog as well, by the way.
Okay, my dog. Yeah, I know. He's lying under my bed, under my desk here. So let you know how he's doing next week. Take
All
care.
right. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode fresh and shiny as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.